All right, folks, I think we are live, but as always, we're going to wait for a confirmation on YouTube. So people in the audience, please let us know if you can hear me and see us all right. And then we'll kickstart the session. Okay, I can see on my YouTube, everything's okay. But if you can just tell us in chat if the AV is clear, then we can get started. All right, people still waiting for a confirmation, please let me know. I can never trust YouTube, so it'll be good to have a quick confirmation. Okay, should be okay. Let me check my video settings quickly. 1 second. I wonder why. Let's see this. Okay, folks, just 1 second. I think this, yeah, now the video settings are fine. All right, people. Welcome to this YouTube Live. Now, as the topic says, we're going to do a deep dive into the BIFS domain, which I'm sure, as you all know, is banking, insurance, and financial services. So we're going to cover quite a bit in this session. We'll do a deep dive into the domain, focusing on career opportunities in this specific domain. We'll talk about skills that are required to succeed. We'll talk about the evolving landscape, potentially the impact of AI as well, because that's the impact of AI is everywhere. And we'll also talk about the specialized program that GIM offers, which is the PGDM BIFS program. So GIM offers a very specialized program in this domain. We'll talk a lot about that as well. I'm sure you have questions around eligibility, course content, academics, and placements as well. So we'll cover all those details. Okay. So on the panel today, we have Dr. Deepali, who is a professor in the BIFS domain at GIM. She's a PhD in accounting and finance from IIM Ranchi, and she has extensive experience in this domain. So very happy to have you, Dr. Deepali. Thank you so much for taking out the time.
Yeah, hi, Datin. Thanks for having me.
Sure. All right, folks. So the way it's going to work is I have a set of questions, which I'm guessing will be a representative of the questions that you have. So I'll run through that. That'll take about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. Okay, so we have ample time for Q&A. Don't wait for that leg. Start putting in your questions in Q&A, and I'll keep coming back to them as and when possible. Okay. All right. Let's get started. So, Dr. Deepali, just a very introductory question, because I'm guessing there are people from the domain, but also students who are freshers. If you could just start with an overview of the BIFS domain, I think that would really help.
Okay, so like you mentioned, BIFS is banking, insurance, and financial services. So everything that you know about all of these things. So in banking, we have investment banking, wealth management, we have treasury management. All of this will fall under our banking segment. After that, we have lots of insurance. So we have marine insurance, life insurance, term insurance, all of these kind of insurances, and everything that's associated with providing services in the financial sector. For example, there's portfolio management, then there's investment management, then we have things around that fintech, we have digital finance. All of this is covered in our financial services. We have mutual funds, we have stocks, we have commodities. Everything surrounding all of this is going to come under the broader shell of BIFS, banking, insurance, and financial services. As far as India is concerned, we are touching around 100 trillion in this market, and we are also third largest in fintech. So as far as India goes, a very interesting and appealing sector to be in, a very good time to be in this sector, and a lot of opportunities also right in front of us. So BIFS is something, so we'll discuss more about that.
Sure. So you said that, I mean, clearly it's a very vast domain and a thriving domain. In terms of the core career opportunities in this domain, especially for folks who complete their MBA,
Right.
What are those core career opportunities for MBA
Okay,
grads?
so what I'll try to do is I'll try to discuss the broad headings in which
Sure.
multiple job options are available. So I'll try to break this down in that way. I think that will give you you and the participants, of course, the broader perspective of what are the options that we have as far as uh, a, a, a trajectory is concerned. So we are working in one particular trajectory, and then what are the options in that trajectory?
Right.
So again, see, we have BIFS. So careers are possible in all of these.
Right.
As far as banking is concerned, see, the most common things, the most common thing that we have is asset management.
Right.
So after asset management, we have investment banking, and students also usually end up in roles of regulatory and risk compliance.
Okay.
So these are some things that is one of the options. Then the other option that we have is moving towards corporate finance, treasury and trade finance, working in global markets where we have stocks, bonds, commodity trading. That becomes one other segment. And then we have, for example, although it is lesser discussed, we also have international financing and consulting and advisory. So
Okay.
if you are of the opinion that you should be doing something of your own, students after working for a couple of years also tend to become financial consultants to larger firms, maybe to family businesses, which is very common now, or to high net worth individuals. So that is also one very appealing market. So this is coming, all of these job opportunities, they tend to come from the BIFS sector.
Okay.
So in asset management, we have basics of our banking. We have wealth management, we have treasury management. You need to know certain amount of laws and regulations surrounding banking around that. If you enter into compliance and risk regulation, then we have some, again, which industry you are providing the service to. Based on that, you will need to know some information. So all of these multiple jobs can be broken down into broader segments of which segment you are working for. So you can go towards banking, you can work towards insurance. For example, again, this is lesser discussed, but the underwriting of insurance in itself is such a big mark. There's lots of potential in that area as well.
Right.
So underwriter for stock issuers, whenever there's an IPO going to happen, there's jobs available in those fund offers. So these kind of jobs also coming from the BIFS area.
Okay.
So again, a huge market chunk available for us.
Right. So clearly, I mean, the domain is vast. There's a wide array of career opportunities available. Under each head, also you have several trajectories that a student can take in. Okay.
Right.
That's very good to know. In terms of core skills, so I'm sure like this domain is also fast evolving, right?
Right.
It comes with its own challenges and opportunities. But as of now, what are the core skills that a student should focus on if they want to make a career in this domain?
So see, like we discussed, that there are multiple trajectories which you can take.
Yeah.
Depending on which trajectory you are going on or thinking about going on, because as a SCAT aspirant or as a first year student, you may not have that necessary clarity. So there are two things that we strongly recommend. First is basic conceptual clarity. So once you've decided to enter into the sector, there are a couple of things that you must know. There's what are capital markets, how do they function, who's the regulator, what is the international scenario, these kind of things. Conceptual clarity is a great start. If you are clear with your concepts, you can build up to whatever you are trying to or hoping to learn. And once you have figured that part out where you want to be, so suppose you are finding yourself more interested in the sustainability aspect of things. So we have 20 UN development goals. Okay, right. So if you feel like you want to become a sustainability analyst or risk analyst, then you must know what is at the intersection of sustainability and finance. That becomes appealing. So basically, I would suggest anybody who's planning to enter to have some level of conceptual clarity. And second is interest. You must be willing to read around the things a lot. You have to keep up with, since it's an evolving market, regulations also keep changing. So you really have to be on your toes. It cannot be that I've learned this, now I'm done. So that is something. So core skills set would be conceptual clarity, and second, willingness to keep updated. That would be the best thing to have.
Okay. So just sort of, I mean, I'll discuss the GIM course and the personal interview process later. But just in relation to this, so these are most of the students who will be coming for this course might either be freshers or people on an average with 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 years of experience, right? So in terms of conceptual clarity, are there specific sources that they should follow, or is it just general reading and the general sources that we have on the internet?
See, it's the world of internet, so
Right,
there's
right.
reliable information and there's some
Correct.
not so reliable information.
Correct.
We can easily find the good sources.
Definitely.
It's very easy to even with especially since they're graduates and they've already done this, they would know the right sources. At this point,
Correct.
they can easily identify.
Definitely,
so there are some very healthy sources that we can rely on. We have so for example, if you want to know about the Indian stock market, then NSE should be your source.
Right.
That way you can easily map these kind of things. So which source is a reliable, trustworthy source?
Correct.
These kind of things. Then there are a couple of newspapers which are very, very well known to provide knowledge in this area. So then you can rely on those instead of, I would say, shorter reels, which is not, the best place to learn things.
Right.
So maybe read from the good source.
Yeah.
So that would be.
Sorry, yes, absolutely. And I think in the finance domain, especially in the stock market, I dabble a little bit in the stock market. There's a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation, right, in the stock market. So you're absolutely right. So I guess just folks, just focusing on the trusted sources, and I'm sure you know which sources are that by now. And would you recommend them to do that as part of their interview preparation as well? Just sort of getting a conceptual clarity on the basics, news, financial news, and etc.
So as far as students who tend to come with background, we usually prefer that they have at least their concepts clear.
Right.
Because, they've had 2-3 years of studying this subject. Maybe they've had it in an introductory level, of course, but they must have put in some effort in the beginning. Definitely. So these kind of students should definitely have clarity on what they've done in their 2-3 years. So say I am myself aware that they come across subject of financial markets or financial accounting in first, second year. Students who come from BBA, BCom. So when they are interviewing, I expect them to know things. Will they study it? Definitely. If the student is coming from a background where he or she is not studied these kind of subjects in the past, then my expectation would be basic knowledge. And also when we ask questions in which logical deductions are possible, then they have to show the grasp. Correct. Then they must show it that way. Absolutely. So that is a check. It's how much you are willing to learn on the go. Since you will have to bridge that gap with the student who's coming from the background, then can you think on your feet? So that is another measure. So that for the student, students who don't have background are very welcome. And we also provide necessary support. But primary responsibilities of the student. He or she has to show that kind of willingness that they're keen. So
right.
That
I mean, there should be a curiosity at least, right? For freshers, right?
Right.
So I think folks, that's a tip, and it's the right time to sort of keep this on top of your mind, because you're approaching interview season. So whether it's the BIFS program or whether other programs at GIM or otherwise, I think starting to read news, watching news, reading newspapers, and really deep diving into these concepts is very essential. So for BIFS, definitely focus on finance and the trusted sources. Awesome. Okay, so Pranjal, I see your question about placement scenario. I will come down to that in a little bit. Folks, by the way, you can put in your questions, and I'll make sure that we answer. I'll request Dr. Deepali to answer all of them before the session ends. So feel free to put your questions. We'll move to GIM courses, placements, eligibility in a bit. Just one question, ma'am, in general about the BIFS domain. So not just AI, but how is this landscape evolving? I'm sure finance is very dynamic. There are so many changes happening every day. So could you just shed some light on how is it evolving? What are the future growth and challenges, and possibly touch on the impact of AI?
Okay, so I'll take this up one by one.
Sure.
You see, finance in itself is a very, very evolving area.
Even
now we can see that there are so many things that we do with our financial transactions today, which I would say even 5-7 years ago, we would have thought is pretty much not possible. Now, all of this is happening because we have integrated IT or AI, technology with our finance.
Definitely.
So, of course, it's very dynamic. We have to keep up with these things, with new trends, which also lead to new jobs. Since there's a whole new segment now, we have more jobs coming up in these areas. So although, of course, we like to discuss AI, but there is a lot of more tech that is there. We have cloud computing, then we have blockchain, then we have Internet of Things, and we have predictive analytics. All of this is helping us do better financing. So as far as impact of AI, or for that matter, cloud computing is concerned, so I'd just like to give you some brief examples. I don't want to go into a lot of detail. It becomes a very, student teacher kind of, yeah. So I don't want to move in that direction. But the whether you'll get a loan or not is going to be determined with some kind of predictive analytics now. Same way, the banks are using a lot of cloud computing to store our certain information, which they can use for compliance purposes, which means every time we don't have to give them one document now. So with these kind of things coming up, same way, a lot of insurance agencies, how much claim settlement should happen, all of this data is now available through predictive analytics or cloud computing, or with the help of AI, they are creating risk measurement models, which is allowing us to do financing in a whole different way. The way, if we don't really have a great understanding of how financing is working anymore. So it's really a niche segment based on lots and lots of data. And since it's a very, very evolving area, there's lots of opportunity to explore which segment you want to work in. In credit, you want to work in risk, you want to work you want to work in insurance, all of these, and the integration of IT. So you have to know AI, then you have to know ML, machine learning is needed. You need to know a little bit of coding. So students who don't have finance background usually come from these kind of backgrounds, engineering, where they know all of these things. So they tend to move in this direction, in direction of fintech, in direction of digital banking, which is a very interesting segment. So we have impact of AI in banking and finance is widespread. There's a lot of application that's happening. Now, talking about the challenges, it's just my opinion that since there's a lot of data being stored and there's lots of technology being utilized, one of the biggest concerns remains data protection. One is data protection, and the second is data management. So even if you have the right data stored in the right places, making inferences, we are not ready to outsource all of our inferencing right now. It's too early. The technology is too fresh to outsource serious decisions. So what banks and companies as of now have done is they've outsourced the mechanical part of things, which is the record maintenance or these kind of things. But eventually we'll move towards the prediction of other data as well. But it's early. And, this is something with one of the challenges, because we have to show prudence with these things. So we have to maintain boundaries, then there's ethics, then there's integrity, all of that starts to come in, which is the general discussion of AI and ethics. So that is one of the challenging areas, but it's too soon to be commenting on how far we are. So that is, something that we can take care of.
Okay, sounds good. So just moving to the GIM PGDM program, right? You spoke about these challenges and opportunities that are happening, and you said that finance is something which is very dynamic, right? How does the PGDM program in BFS GIM prepare students for these challenges and opportunities?
Okay. So our PGDM BIFS program is structured with a duration of 2 years and 3 trimesters so there's a trimester system in 1 year, 3 terms. Now our first year, and specifically the first 2 terms, we've kept them very introductory in nature, because we also understand that students who don't have background will be joining us. And even when there are students who already have background, it needs a little bit of brush up, it needs polishing. The way they have interpreted things, you have to give it a more strategic lens. We're preparing leaders, so we have to give them a fresher perspective on things. So the first year is set with that. We have courses on financial reporting, we have management accounting, introduction to corporate finance, introduction to financial markets. So students who don't have the background can bridge the gap. And the students who have the background, they can refresh and they can see it through a fresher lens, fresher perspective. Now, once that is done, students go for their 3-month summer internships. These summer internships are a great opportunity to see, one, where they see themselves, what kind of roles they want to be doing. And second, what are the opportunities? So while we, discuss a lot, these are the options, you can do this, you can do that. It's only when the student steps into the market that he gets an idea what is going on. So we have a 3-month internship. Here the students also see the bridging of the book and the world.
Absolutely.
What they learn, if when they implement it, it's a very beautiful feeling. Once
Right.
you learn it right,
Right.
and then you go and implement it, it's wonderful. And
Definitely.
then when the students come back for the second year, we have courses on, see, they are more industry oriented and industry aligned courses. So we have courses of data visualization, we have machine learning, we have artificial intelligence, we have courses for that. Along with that, we have, so for example, again, depending on which side the student wants to go towards, we have specific courses for insurance. Then we have courses on alternate investments, fixed income, risk management. Depending on, then these are electives. So the student can choose what he or she wants to study. Depending on, most of the students tend to pick electives based on how their 3-month internships went. So
Right.
which sector they see themselves in. Sometimes they come to know this is something we don't want to do. So that is also a great eye opener to have right in the beginning. So
Right.
that way also it's very helpful.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. And just again, just specific to the program. So you said that actually before that, another question. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought for a bit. The question that I had was generally even the specialized programs that we have in many other schools, the first year is general. It's common with all programs, followed by a specialized second year. But when I was going through the course content for GIM, for BIFS, looks like they start with the finance subjects in the first year itself.
Right. So yeah, I'd like to clarify. So it's
Right.
not common with the students who are coming for other programs. The
Right.
BIFS program is we have more finance oriented subjects.
Right. Right.
So for example, just it's I understand the importance of teaching multiple subjects. For example, the subjects of organizational behavior, human resource management,
Right.
marketing. You need these kind of subjects for the holistic learning.
Right.
And
Right.
these subjects are introduced at the right time.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but our intention, since the student is in BIFS background, the case studies are more towards this sector.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
They are aligned to the broader intention of BIFS. So, for
Right.
example, if I want to teach you marketing of a service, so I would say your examples, my examples would stem in that direction. I would take
Right.
the course instructor would take conversations in that direction. How you're supposed to sell particular, instead of just we are not going to be discussing how to sell physical goods,
Right.
since we're talking in the service sector. So the course is more aligned towards BIFS, although there's always a emphasis on complete. So there's research methods that we
Right.
teach for
Right.
students who want to move into consultancy. Then there's strategy, but the
Right.
lens remains with financial sector as a
Definitely.
that way it's
Definitely.
different, and the
Right.
subjects are different right from the first year.
Right.
They're
Right.
not same as students who sit for PGDM or say for big data analytics. It's different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is good in my opinion, because I mean the student has already made a decision to get into this domain.
Right.
The lens might as well be the BFS lens throughout their
Right.
curriculum, which is great. Okay. Now the next question is in terms of, and I'm sure like there are lots of freshers who are dialing in, and this is a common question that comes up. So this is a specialized course, which is BIFS. Does a student need to have prior background on BIFS, or let's say an engineer who has no idea about BIFS but an inclination to get into this domain, can they also apply for this program?
Yeah, so as such, there are no requirements that the student should have a prior. You can come from any field.
Right.
It's open,
Right.
but of course, there will be a little bit of gap. We
Yeah.
are willing to put in the efforts to bridge the gap. We expect you to put in the effort.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
basic instinct towards finance needs to be there.
Right. Right.
Basic curiosity needs to exist. Otherwise,
Definitely.
it's very questionable why you are moving.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
as long as you can show that there's willingness to learn and why you are doing it, what made you think that I should be switching? These are concrete reasons.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Then it's open for everybody's welcome.
Okay. Okay. And interestingly, I was looking at your placement brochure, which had the batch stats as well. And I think
Right.
around 50% of the students were freshers, and quite a few of them were
Right.
engineers. So that's interesting that the door is open for non-finance and engineers as well who have an interest in finance.
And I'd also like to give you a little bit of tidbit information here. As far as my courses are concerned, students who are students who are engineers tend
Right.
to fare better.
Okay. Okay. All right,
They
that's good.
have a very fresh perspective, which is good.
Definitely.
So usually that happens.
Right. And which, out of curiosity, ma'am, which courses are those? Just for
So
the,
I take
yes, yeah.
financial reporting and then I take management accounting.
Okay. Okay.
But
So
if you think about it, it is hardcore finance and somebody with background should benefit.
correct.
But
Absolutely.
that doesn't happen.
All right. I was expecting tech-oriented courses when you said that, but this is interesting. So, so good news for the engineers, right? I mean, don't, because I've been in this industry for quite some time. I coach them for mock interviews as well. So engineers always have this, worry that I don't
Right.
have a finance background, but I have a keen interest. Will a college accept me? So it's really good to know. So engineers, you have nothing to worry. And clearly from the data, it shows that, you folks are doing very well in Dr. Deepali's courses. So that's a good thing. All right. Okay, I'll take a couple of questions, ma'am, from the live chat, and then I'll come back to my questions. So Pranjal wants to know what's the placement scenario for this course specifically at GIM.
So right now, our average touch is around 17, 18. And our highest touch is, I believe we are touching around 25 at this point.
Okay.
Which is, I think, very good numbers. Also, it's ongoing. So we are, of course, expecting things to be better. But yeah, I did very good numbers. And again, I usually suggest that don't look at higher, don't look at average, basic statistics you apply, look at medians.
Right.
And these kind of information is easily available on our website.
Yes.
So for a more detailed information, you can visit there. But yeah, so BIFS is doing good numbers. Yeah.
Okay. So folks, we have the my team has already sent the placement report. You can have a look at it. It has. I went through it before the session. It's very detailed. But just ma'am, in terms of the companies that regularly visit for this, could you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So, so it happens. Most of the industry students tend to go towards either banking or towards financial services. Insurance and IT are a little bit of niche. So very students who are, very, very passionate about these kind of subjects, they tend to go towards those areas. So mostly it goes to banking and financial services. So we have JP Morgan, we have Barclays, we have Wells Fargo, then we have ICICI, HDFC, Mahindra. So a wide range of recruiters. And students also, here I'd like to mention that the students who go for 3 month summer internships, they also tend to have the options of pre-placement offers, which means that if they're doing very well in their organizations for those 3 months, then they tend to have offers and don't have to sit for final interviews. So that is, again, I usually say that is the mark of good learning, that you've done well in your internship, which is why somebody's willing to offer it to you right in the very beginning.
Definitely.
So we have good PPO numbers as well. Again, for a more detailed report, you can always visit our website. The data is clearly available.
Yep. Actually, the data is very detailed, folks. So definitely the link that has been shared on chat, do go through that. It has not only placement, they have a full-fledged brochure for this program. It not only has the placement information in detail, but also the batch structure, work experience, all of that. So it's covered in detail. Definitely go through that. I'll take another question. So Ashish Kumar wants to know, students who are not familiar with coding, data analysis from their previous educational background, would they find it difficult to go through this program?
So I wouldn't say it's difficult. My only question would be, are you willing to put in the effort?
Right.
Because we are having sufficient resources for you. So we are partnering up with, there's LinkedIn Learning, then there's online courses which we facilitate, which again, it depends on student, how actively they want to invest in it. So I wouldn't say that if you're not inclined and it's only one subject, one subject, 2 subjects. So we have Python, then we have R. But again, there is some basic amount of statistics that going into all of it. So if you're not very good with coding, I wouldn't say that is something that should discourage you. I would just say that it is something that will make you put more effort. That's something that you should work harder on. That's all.
Right. And as you also said, I mean, you have those preparatory courses that help students to.
So one of the very nice features I would say is that once the student is on campus, before the classes start, we have an induction. Now this induction is 5-day or 7-day kind of. So it's a briefing on. We also understand that some students don't have inclination or have not studied this. They need some prep before they enter into the classroom. So the induction is structured to facilitate this. There are already classes that are going on to help you transition into this role so that when you enter into the classroom, you're not very burdened.
Okay.
So
Okay.
again, that induction is specifically designed to cover these kind of problems.
That's great. That's great. And I think also, Ashish, I don't know about your background, but like engineers come with coding experience, they might not come with finance experience. And if you
Right.
have, like, let's say if you have BCom and BBA, you have the core experience, and that coding is an add-on that you can. So it's kind of like levels up, right? And GIM also offers those preparatory courses. So awesome. Lokesh is asking, okay, so this is, I'm guessing Lokesh is a CA or one of those allied fields, but ma'am, any considerations for CA, CMA, CS interqualified students, any preference that is given to them as far as this course is concerned?
So there is no preference as such, but there's a scholarship that's available to the student, which has some criteria.
Great.
So
Okay.
if you fit the determined criteria, so these criteria are evolving, but the scholarships exist. So if you have a background and then you come for the course, then of course that is something that is motivation towards, it's our way of motivating you. Great, you've already put in, if you're a CA, say CS, so there are some monetary benefits associated. Again, you can find all of this information on our website. And of course, you have to apply. There's a procedure, so you have to apply for it. It's not deemed. You'll fill the form, you'll get it. That is not the case.
Correct.
Yeah, so that is something that we'd like to clarify.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. So Lokesh, what we'll do is after the session, we'll get the link. We'll post it in the pinned comment and description. So definitely go through that. I think scholarship is a big incentive, right?
Yeah. So we also, adding in, scholarships are also for based on merit. So there are multiple scholarships available depending on which of those boxes you fall in. So that way, we have students who do very well academically are also given scholarships, even if they don't have CACS. Again, these are internal criteria. You need to meet certain CGPAs and all. You need to do certain scores when you're giving your first year exams. But scholarships are available on multiple levels.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. Great to know. Okay. All right. I was expecting this question. So Pranjal is asking what CAT percentile is required for admission to the program. So Pranjal, before I ask this question, request Dr. Deepali to share information. See, as you know by now, it's very dynamic, right? Any kind of cutoff changes every year, and that's true for GM. That's true for any other B school. But definitely, I mean, keep that in mind. Don't get fixated on a particular cutoff because this data changes. But that said, Dr. Deepali, I'd love your inputs on this question, like in terms of cutoff or required CAT percentile for this program.
So see, with every year competition is tougher. So
yes,
CAT
definitely.
percentiles, cutoffs also are increasing.
Yes.
Yeah. So every year it's a fresh number, and I would just say give it your best and don't get into all of what is cut off for where. These kind of things are very, you never know with your luck. So
correct. Absolutely. I agree. And also just one point from my side. I mean, they will consider your profile as well. Right. So do keep that in mind. GIM also has an interesting round called as Achievers Round. The deadline is fast. But in the Achievers Round, the emphasis is a lot on the profile. Right. So there are so many different factors. So I would also say don't get fixated on the cutoff. Just make a strong application and hope for the best. Right. Okay. Awesome. Is CMAT accepted this year, ma'am? Is it going to be accepted?
No, from what so I don't think CMAT is accepted, but again, we take CAT, ZAT, GMAT, and just again for, GMAT also has a certain year's validity, so we don't take 5 year. Please refer to the eligibility criteria mentioned on the website for completely accurate information. We update them on the go. So please refer to that.
Sounds good. Lokesh, you can easily find that on the website, but we'll also include a link later and in the pinned comment and description. All right. Okay. So ma'am, of course, there are other B schools also that offer similar programs. Why should a student choose GIM over the other B schools? Like, what are those specifics that stand out for GIM?
Okay, so couple of reasons. Usually we don't look as a student, we don't look at the world through this lens, but once you're on the other side, I have realized that we are almost I can say this for blanket as a blanket level statement that GIM is focused on all round development of the student.
Right.
So we are while there are of course students learning is very very important, but then there are a couple of other things on which equal emphasis needs to be paid.
Right.
So when there are so many opportunities, there are live projects, then there are case studies that students can participate in, then there's quiz competitions, there are consulting boot camps, there's an international exchange program which is doing very well. So lots and lots of, I feel like all of these things come together and give the student a great perspective. The idea is that the student leaves with broader horizons than what they entered as.
Right.
So one of the best things that I have learned that we do at GIM here is that the student gets all-round development. So that is something that, I feel like it's one of the best things that we have.
Absolutely.
The thing is that, of course, we have a very, very nice internship opportunities. Then students can continue to collaborate with faculty on academic projects as well. So if sometimes students tend to have this inclination that we want to work in, just for an example, I'm saying there are economic analysts, these kind of positions, which require you to have some kind of research background. Now student is working as an MBA student.
Right.
So that kind of research learning he or she may not be able to get. The course is not mapped to make you a researcher. It's designed for some other purpose, but students can participate as academic support to faculty. So those who have different orientations, they'll find something, which again, I feel is, you can find your calling, even if you've not figured it out.
Right.
So we have a lot of options.
That's good. That's good to know, ma'am. And also you said they have a opportunity to participate in a live project as well.
Yes.
This is different from the internship?
Yes.
Okay.
So the live projects are again durations depend upon who's on the other side. The companies reach out to us, or we have tie-ups. So they have their own, or let us say they're stuck with some bottleneck which they would want resolved. Now the students in groups of 3, 5 can individually also, depending again on the requirements of the other company, work on projects to solve those problems. Now it's such a hands-on opportunity of learning. So students can be parts of live projects, which are in addition to the summer internships that they do. Right. And so that is, again, I'd say it's a great opportunity to learn. So
the practical component is quite robust during the program, which is great. Okay. You also mentioned about the student exchange program. There's always interest about that. If you could just talk to us a little bit about it.
So again, there's an international exchange programs. So we have coming up with you can always, we have around, I believe, 25 tie-ups. And students, again, you have to clear certain cutoffs to be eligible to go. You cannot be doing poorly academically and then be going out. So yeah, there are projects, and then you can, if you qualify. And again, we have scholarships for these students as well. If you want to go out in of 6 or 10, then we have international exchange programs. So we have with University of Kansas, we have with the, Antwerp Management School. We have lots of international exchange opportunities. We have consulting boot camps also. Students come, students go. Both of them are, I say, good learning opportunities, because sometimes you go and learn, sometimes students from other backgrounds come, and that is, again, you work with them, you see different working cultures, rich learning there.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Awesome, folks. Keep putting your questions in the live chat, and I'll keep covering them. Again, ma'am, just on the GM program, right? So again, I'm sure there are like ambitious students right now with us who want to take up leadership roles eventually, right, down the line in their career in the finance domain. How does GM prepare them for these leadership roles? Like, are there specific courses? Is there specific coaching that's given to them from this perspective?
So yeah, okay, great. So if you even if you if you just go to our website and just see GIM's vision and mission statement, you realize that it's right there in our mission statement that we want to create responsible and agile leaders.
Right.
Now, it's basically top down. So once it's in our mission statement, all the courses have some element mapped towards leadership ability. So like I said, we focus on holistic development. Whenever there are, even in our courses in even financial reporting and management accounting, they are there is an element of where we want the student to develop critical thinking skills,
Right.
which is, I would say, the mark of a good leader.
Yep.
It's only when they have EQ, IQ combination, that's when it works.
Yeah.
So some of it will come from one course, some of it will come from another course. At the end of it, if they can put the two and two together and say solve a particular case, which involves some amount of empathy, some amount of number knowledge, then I would say that we have created a few, not obviously not ready, but somebody who will shape up into a good leader.
Right.
This is a broader agenda that we have to create responsible leaders, and this is something that we measure in the long run. It's very soon to say somebody who's passed out of MBA has become a good leader.
Of course.
So yeah, so this is again something we are we have a very strong emphasis on creating both responsible and second agile leaders who can move along with the times and have a basic. So there are courses on ethics, there's courses on good governance. These kind of topics are very important. We tend to lose out these, we tend to forget the importance of these courses when we want to say AI, ML, which is very crucial. But you have to have ethics in the process, which is again, we have to shape up our leaders like that. We have mapped it into our subjects, and there is a evaluation component on all of this. So that is, I think it's a good way to incorporate one of our missions into the subjects itself.
Okay. Sounds great. Shubhang Sinha wants to know more about consulting boot camps that you mentioned. So he's saying, what can we expect from them in terms of learning?
So I can only give the example of last year. These again, it depends upon who's the person we are consulting to, which organization we are consulting to. So last year we had 6 consulting. We had one broad consulting bootcamp with 6 case studies. Now there's a e-bike company, so they need some help with some of their marketing techniques. Then there's a internet operator. So basically what they want help is that they're not able to sell one of their products. They want to understand why it's not working out. So your team of 4 acts as a consultant on this project. You identify what the problem is, then you provide some strategic solutions. So I can't give names, but one of our one of our parties was so happy that they decided to implement the changes that the students suggested. And then after 6 months, they came back to us with a follow-up that the students had covered a significant proportion of the problem. So once they implemented that, roughly 60% of the problem came down. So it's not just that students are giving solutions and it's just forgotten. It's put into action and then there's follow-up. So our boot camps are very, very interesting way of, again, application of what you're learning.
That's great learning. Awesome. Great, folks. Keep putting your questions, and as I said, I'll make sure that we answer all of them. Ma'am, a little bit about the alumni members in general, or maybe specifically from the BIFS program. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So so our alumni network is very rich and widely supported. GIM was established in 1993. We have by now a great alumni network.
Right.
So we also, one of the again good things is we just had an alumni meet actually now that you say. So the students also are those who are pass outs, they come back to the campus, they get the opportunity to interact with the students. There are a lot of alumni held sessions in which pass outs talk about what they think they could have done better, what roles they're doing now, what kind of opportunities exist for the students who are just coming out. So GIM has a great alumni network to rely on. BIFS is a relatively younger program to comment upon the alumni network of BIFS in particular, but at the same time, it's a shared network. So it's not like if you're in BIFS, you can't use the network.
Right.
So we have the PGDM core flagship programs network and we rely on that. And
that's great.
It's a great opportunity.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Great. Now, I think I'm almost done with all the questions that I had, but just to wrap it up, and of course, I'll wait for other questions to come in as well. But what advice, ma'am, would you have for students who are thinking of applying to this program? Like, how can they maximize their chances of getting through? And also any advice in general for folks wanting to make a foray into this domain?
Okay, so if you're keen on the BIFS program, any BIFS program, my only suggestion would be to, one, if you have background knowledge, be clear with your basics. And if you're not having background knowledge, be clear with your why you are doing it. That is a very, it's very easy to catch bluffs. So don't bluff. The person on the other side of the table knows what you're saying.
Right.
Don't bluff in your interviews and be clear on your why you are doing something. That's a great way to start the discussion. Second, if you have, so students usually try to do some kind of certifications. Even if you're doing those certifications, it's a very good thing. It shows that you're enthusiastic about something. It shows that you're keen. Also, even in those certifications, try to maintain conceptual clarity.
Right.
So that is one thing that I would suggest to anybody who's trying to work in this domain. And of course, since it's a dynamic kind of area to be working in, you must show the willingness to upgrade. You have to be, every 2-3 years, something new will pop up. You'll have to upskill. If you don't upskill, you are redundant. So that's true for all of us, for those who teach, for those who learn. You have to keep up with the times. So that is, again, you have to keep working on yourself. You have to be willing to do that. Only then this area makes sense for you. Complacency doesn't work here.
Definitely. And agility is a part of their mission. So, they'll definitely expect students to embody that right from the interview stage. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Nikhileshwar is asking, ma'am, can you share about BFS affiliation with CFA Institute? Is there any affiliation?
So it is underway. We are in the process, and it may be a little early. Maybe by next year we can make a formal announcement.
Okay, awesome. So there you go, Nikhileshwar. You can expect that to come through next year. Awesome. I think, folks, we've covered all the questions in chat. If there are any more questions, let us know. But I think, ma'am, this has been a great session. Thank you so much for taking out the time and sharing your insights, not only about the GM program, but also about the BIFS domain in general. I think I also learned something new, so which is great. I'm sure the students had a lot of learnings. But folks, definitely pay attention to ma'am's advice. I think she emphasized a lot on conceptual clarity, and if you're a fresher, making sure that why BIFS, why finance is very clear in your head. So that's a great tip for the interviews coming your way. So definitely focus on that. If you have any more questions, you can put them in comments, right? I'm in touch with the GM team, so we'll get that answered. We'll respond to your comments, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, folks, for joining in. And we'll see you soon for another session.
Yeah. Thanks, Chetan. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.